First of all, we'll talk about naming conventions. So in Orchid Wiz, we follow two naming conventions from two different organizations. Now, the two organizations are, sometimes they're confused, that people believe that they're the same because they both report into the Queen of the United Kingdom. One of them is Kew Gardens. It's a nonprofit in the UK. And the other one is the Royal Horticultural Society, another nonprofit. They're actually different organizations, but Kew Gardens keeps track of a list called the Kew List of Monocots, which really is where we get our naming convention for species. So that's the naming convention that we follow for species. And the Royal Horticultural Society is who keeps track. They took it over from Frederick Sander's family in the 1960s. But they're the ones that keep track of what is the orchid hybrid name, what is the genus and what is the name. And when there are two different names, they decide which one takes priority and which one it's going to be the one that they're going to use. So that Frederick Sander only started becoming involved in registering orchids. I think it was in the late 1800s. By that time, quite a few orchids had already been hybridized, and people were just calling them whatever. So if we look at one example here, so I'm going to pull up what used to be known as Laeliocattleya kenhamiana. So Laeliocattleya kenhamiana was one that was hybridized like crazy. But this one was hybridized like crazy in the late 1800s. And the reason for that is that it's made up of two species. So it's a primary hybrid made up of two species, Cattleya mossii and Cattleya purpurata, and they bloom at the exact same time. So if you have these growing side by side in a northern hemisphere greenhouse, they bloom at the exact same time. So people were hybridizing these two species all over Europe. And so when you look at the names here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here, and there's a button here for names. It has a little book icon. And when you click there, it has all the names for that orchid hybrid. And you can see that it has tons and tons of different names, like Laeliocattleya Captain Lost Schofield, and Laeliocattleya Comtesse de Bassetière, and Laeliocattleya Edouard André, and Laeliocattleya Madame Wallet, and so on. And there's a Laeliocattleya Purpurata mossii. These were all names that people were calling it in the 1800s before Frederick Sander got involved. When he got involved, he compiled all of these different names, and then it was decided, or he decided, that the name that it should be was Laeliocattleya kenhamiana. And after he got involved, then people would write to him, and he would create this book, and that's how he made money, was by creating these books that he sold with the orchid hybrid names. And then in the 60s, that was taken over by the Royal Horticultural Society, and that's who you go to now. You pay a fee. I think it's something like $15 or something like that, close to that. And then you pay this fee and you get the orchid registered, and it goes into the list of orchid hybrids. And if you look at how many orchid hybrids are registered on an annual basis, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to stay registered starting in 2019 and ending in 2019. And I'm going to say, and I'm not going to include aliases. Okay, this is the only time you want to unclick include aliases. And I'm going to click, so registered, and it's a hybrid, registered in 2019, do not include aliases, and click search. And I have to delete my kenhamiana, of course, because kenhamiana was not registered in 2019. So I remove that, click search, and there were 41,093 orchid names, and that's been going up over the years, and that's not down by any means. I mean, that's at the highest it's ever been. So the hybridization is very, very healthy.